Hello, everyone. Nice meeting all of you. I hope the session is as informative for you guys as uh, given the time, effort, energy that the team has put into making it work. So, yeah, looking forward to the interactions.
Awesome. And I would take the liberty, Rajiv, to ask on your behalf to all the people to keep adding questions, and we would ultimately take it towards the end of this session with you. Awesome. All right. So, Rajiv, I think in the last year and a half, there has been a lot of noise around HFT, and a lot of people want to qualify for this particular industry. But back in the days, end of the first decade of 2000s, what inspired you and iReach both to get into the domain of HFT?
So, I was already trading at a firm called Optiver in Amsterdam. So, they are pretty big in continental. They are the biggest in continental Europe at that point of time, probably even right now. So the regulations in India opened up in 2008. So direct market access was allowed in, and me and some of my co-founders, we got in touch with each other, and then we thought this is the right moment to start because it's an industry segment which was just opening up. So yeah, so that's how we ended up starting iRage, and then more importantly, the domain itself was always very fascinating. It's not like some industry segment opening up and therefore we setting up, right? So we were already working in this domain. The fact is that when you're doing high frequency trading, you're competing with some of the smartest people on earth, and then it's like playing a video game every day. So you have to. Means every day at the end of the day you get a score, so you know if you are doing well. If you're not doing well, you cannot fool anyone. So it's fun that way. You're competing with smart people, and then you get to see a validation of your ideas, a validation of your strategies straight away, immediately. So that is what makes it fun. So yeah, so that's how we ended up starting. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And yeah, I mean, of course, like we all have been knowing that you have been, and the team, the founder team has been able to set up iReach quite remarkably. What core values define your team and the work culture overall?
Well, this domain is so for example, you have the Western movies, right? So you have Clint Eastwood, and then you have a lot of other actors. So basically, the industry is dominated by one key player. Then you have a few also runs, and then that's it. It's not a very hugely populated industry. Likewise, HFT also is as such. So you have the winner takes a significant portion of the pie. Then you have a couple of other players who take a little bit more, a little bit, and then that's it. So it's very cutthroat. So you have to be very quick and nimble. So you have to keep observing how the market structure is changing, and then you have to adapt yourself. So while recruiting, so it's a people business. So it's a people industry. So the kind of talent that you hire defines how you would do. So we have been this our focus has been to hire people who have shown excellence prior to joining us. Very strong focus and interest in certain subject matter, and then that has reflected to them doing something similar while working with us, and that has been how we have reached where we are. And then not just that, apart from individual brilliance, you might be Clint Eastwood, but then if you have poor EQ, then you might not be able to do well in a team. And then here, as we will slowly and gradually see as we discuss various aspects of high frequency trading. So you need to be good at multiple facets. Now, for one person to be at the cutting edge of all those subdomains, it might be very difficult. So you would have to work with others who would have an expertise in a complementary domain, you would have expertise in some other domain. Now, you need to be able to work well with others. So therefore, having a congenial atmosphere, people who could us as partners, ensuring that the environment is healthy and collaborative, and ensuring that that value stays in the firm, that has helped uh, to help us reach where we are.
Interesting. So basically a good mix of the IQ and EQ part of things too.
Yeah, yes. So while a lot of us feel that IQ is very important, yes, that is true, because one good alpha, if you find a really good alpha, you scale it up, you become hugely profitable. And it's about finding those few very good alphas, because everyone is competing, everyone is trying to search for that good alpha. But then as you scale up, as it becomes an engineering challenge, as it becomes, then you need to be able to collaborate and work with others to be able to scale things up and so on.
True that. True that. And I think as you mentioned a couple of times about the skill set that you hire, let us move towards the technical skills of things. So generally, this has been a question that as a person in the quantancy team that I've been getting is, what are the different programming languages and tools that are essential to join an HFT?
Okay. So before we get there, do you want to discuss the HFT industry itself? What is HFT and so on, and then get into the skill sets required, or do you want to jump into the skill set required for the industry?
Sure, that'll be great. So yeah, I mean that has also been a a very hazy picture about how frequencies are defined. So yeah, if you could just throw some light on how the industry is defined, that would be great.
Okay. So basically, trading, any trading is basically you make a bet, you make a viewpoint that I think prices will either go up or go down. So if you feel prices will go up, you will buy. If you think prices go down, you sell. So that is trading. Now, high frequency trading is a subset of it, where you either make the prediction for a very short duration, or you find an opportunity which might not persist for a very long for long durations of time. So you have to be very quick and nimble responding to those opportunities. So just to give some indication as to the kind of scale that is involved. Actually, can I do, I'll be able to see the Q&A responses on my screen? Yeah.
Yes,
so
you can.
good. Yeah, so I believe that a lot of participants here are students and people who are looking for a career, so who are outside of this domain. So if I ask, so what do you think is the volume of data that the exchanges transmit on a daily basis, each exchange? So any wild guess that people want to make? Scroll down, yeah. I see some people are starting answering.
So there's a answer from Dave, 100 crores, trillions.
Petabytes, wow. So this is on a daily basis. So on a daily basis, yeah, you would get hundreds of gigabytes of information. So now to create, oh wow, a lot of answers are flowing in. So yeah. Some of you are correct. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So close to terabytes. So some of you are correct. So you'd get hundreds of gigabytes of data. You have to process that information. So let me take a step back. So when I say you make a prediction, so you would say that, hey, making a prediction is not easy. How can you make a prediction? Well, let me break it down for you. So there is a stock called, say, Reliance, trading on the Indian exchanges. It trades on NSE, it trades on BSE. Plus, Reliance has futures, which are listed on NSE and BSE. Reliance has options listed on BSE and NSE. And then there are the futures, there are multiple futures with different expiration. So every time there is a news in Reliance, there is an event in Reliance, the stock prices, the prices would go up in one out of the, so there are 100 plus instruments which are linked to Reliance. So every time there is a news or event in Reliance, the price would move in some one out of those 100 first, and then it would follow in the rest 90. Now there could be noises. So there could be price moves and then which are not linked to some news or event, and then therefore the other 99 would not follow. So if you can figure out by looking at the market data of price changes in some of those instruments, whether this is broad-based because of something in the underlying, or whether it is just local movement because of someone wanting to buy or sell or close their position in an individual instrument. So if you can identify that, so you can then take points. So if you identify a big move in Reliance, and then before the rest of the world, you can create positions in 100 other instruments. The move was signaled in one instrument, and then you can make build positions in 100 other instruments, and then that would be hugely profitable for you. Sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry. So you've identified a move in price moves in instrument one, and then you put a position in hundreds of other instruments. Now, to be able to identify that, remember, you get hundreds of gigabytes of data per day, and then the microbursts at the time of activity, the microburst is significant. So yeah, so the thing is, first you have to do a quant analysis to be able to say that, hey, if there is a certain price behavior in certain instrument, it indicates that there is a genuine move, and therefore we should buy in the rest of the 99 instruments. Now, to be able to make that hypothesis, you have to analyze a lot of historical information. So the amount of historical information means monthly historical information is in tens of terabytes, and then across years it's huge. So therefore, one, there is a lot of big data involved to be able to identify the signals, identify what can be used to predict a move and what is a noise. So how to distinguish between noise and true prediction, and that is the prediction part of it. But then you are competing with hundreds of other people who are doing the same thing. So if there is a genuine big move, 100 people would have identified it. So you have to compete with all 100 of them to reach the action before the rest of them. So therefore, you have to be really fast. So now, to be really fast, you have to actually incorporate the cutting edge concepts of multiple domains of programming called computer science. So be it networks, be it hardware, be it operating system, be it the way you are writing, and so on. So that is life. And then even for research, the kind of databases and tools and so on that you have to use, this keeps upgrading at a very fast rate. So as I mentioned, you store say tens of terabytes every month. So now the kind of database tools that you require, that also becomes it's an engineering problem that you have to keep solving. And to keep solving it, the kind of tools that you have to use. So what we use now was actually not even very stable or properly released 4 years or 5 years ago. So these are the most cutting edge, newest things that you have to keep using. Yeah, sorry, I think I kind of deviated from my original question. So yeah, please.
No. I mean, that was helpful. Basically, you covered a couple of more points that I had in terms of the question. So I think that is helpful. Thanks a lot. So now you mentioned about multiple things in terms of latency, database, etc., which actually brings me to a question about it, because there are various team structures. You have got developers, traders, researchers. How do these guys collaborate to achieve the trading goals of, say, for example, iReach?
So because there are multiple things that click. So the traditional boundary between developer and researcher and trader is becoming a little blurred. So now you can't be like, okay, I'll focus on only part A, and then I will aim to be like supremely successful in high frequency trading. So typically, the successful ones are people who do the research themselves, which is big data analysis, and then they would implement it themselves, and therefore they know that how and why, if things go wrong or things need to be changed or modified or so on and so forth, they would have the control on it, and then they would trade it, and then they would get the live feedback, and then they would make the changes. So this is okay. I think I should have taken a step back. So developers are people who build the software. Traders are who manage the money and the risk, and the researchers are who find the alphas and they find how to find the trading strategy. Now, as I mentioned, in a lot of cases, the boundaries get blurred. Uh, there could be people who are pure researchers, there could be people who are pure developers, and uh, traders, uh, pure traders could exist, but then it's mostly the trader plus researcher plus developer.
Got it.
Within developer, there could be people who are developing the strategy, there could be people who are developing the tools for research, developing UIs, which are very, if you're trading, so on each exchange, there is like 100,000 plus instruments, right? So now if you're trading a lot of assets, instruments on the exchange, there's a lot of millions of orders that you're sending as a trader. You have that information, the alerting of outlier events, and then so on and so forth. That has to be presented to the trader in a very what do you call user-friendly UI UX efficient UX way. So there is a lot of development on that as well, and plus there is also core development of the platform, which is the basically the connectivity to the exchanges. So you will have people who are just focusing on building the connectivity to the exchanges, be it the market data adapter, which is market data coming from the exchange, or be it sending orders to the exchange. So people who are focusing purely on the that side of development, there are people who are focusing on the strategy development. The strategy developers could be traders and researchers, people who could be focusing purely on the research. So once again, depending upon firm to firm, this structure could vary. So there are some firms in which there would be independent teams where the researcher, developer, trader for each team would be totally isolated. And then there could be other firms where there is a centralized team of developers. So there would be a centralized team of developers building the adapters for all the teams. But then typically, in almost all cases, most cases, the researchers and then the strategy specific developers would work in different silos. Now, how much the teams interact with each other, that depends upon the corporate philosophy of each corporate. So there are some firms work totally, each team works totally independently. There is no sharing of IP, and then you wouldn't know what your neighboring team is doing, and so on and so forth. There are other firms where there is encouragement of discussion about insights, and then at a broad level, which would help different teams and then the firm as a whole. So yeah, it depends how the firm's philosophy is. So we try to have a mix of both. So where individual teams, they are incentivized to based on their profitability, but then at the top level, things that could impact the global level, we share encourage sharing of insights, and then building tools which are common to everyone. So it's not like tools are built by the team for themselves. We as a firm, we build common tools for which can be used by different teams. Yeah.
Got it. Makes sense. So one thing that I caught from the last what you mentioned was the lines between the different departments are getting hazy, and one of the key functions is the development side and the programming side of things. So one of the common queries of people, which some people have asked in the Q&A too, is what programming languages uh, are required in when it comes to HFT, and what takes more precedence in terms of Python and C++?
So there are two parts. Uh, uh, there are two parts. One is the research part. One is the execution. The research is basically you analyze terabytes of data and then try to find out meaningful insights. So the first part you typically start with Python, but then as you have to scale up, you have to rely on C++ and so on. So to very quickly make insights, test hypothesis, people use Python. But then as the amount of data that they have to analyze goes up, then they start using the C++, number one. Number two, the execution part has to be, in most cases, if it's very latency sensitive, it has to be C++. So therefore, if you are looking for, and then if you are looking for roles in pure development, which is low latency connectivity to the exchanges, risk management, low latency risk management, scalability. So basically, typically, a lot of us be trading with 3-digit number of servers. So communicating across those servers or would be doing real-time backtesting using 3-digit number of servers. So real-time simulation and so on and so forth. So that communication, it's an engineering challenge, the scalability problem. So therefore, those things would happen in C++. The initial research would happen in Python. But as things scale up, probably you might have to do shift the research to C++ as well. So researchers and traders, Python. If you know C++, it's better. And pure developers, it's C++. Some of those pure developers for doing some of those, what do you call, testing of their implementation and then latency analysis of their implementation, they use Python. So you could say that almost everyone eventually would need to be good in Poch.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. I mean, I think that actually connects to one of the questions that Rohan Kaushik also asked in the Q&A. Was for a non-technical candidate, someone who comes from finance or pure sciences background, what should be their roadmap? Should they aspire to get into HFT if that is what their liking is? So that is one of the questions.
Pure science. Also, so the things like when I joined October, one of my colleagues who joined with me was from physics. So we have done physics and so theoretical physics and so on. So because that domain involves your sciences, so that domain involves a lot of maths. You have to be really good in maths, statistics. So that is a skill set that could be transferable in this industry because here you have to find alphas, find trading strategies by analyzing terabytes of data. So yes, was your question about background in finance or background in pure sciences? Sorry, I forgot.
So basically, it's more about people who do not come from the programming side. And other domains like, say, as physics or finance, do they stand or should they aspire to get into HFT if they don't have a programming background, most likely?
Programming is not as scary as you think. So it's just logical thinking logically. So if you are not from that background, I will not give fake rosy pictures. It might be a bit difficult because means you could get some job somewhere, but then I'm guessing means if you are talking about getting a job in one of those means in a top HFT firm, then in a very meaningful role, you have to be good in programming. If you are not, then even if you somehow get into it, it's going to be difficult because as part of your role, you have to compete with traders in the market, right? So you have to find alphas, you have to code your strategies, make changes, and then find code new hypotheses, test them against simulators, and so on, right? So you would need to be good in programming, either for analysis or for implementing the execution.
Right. I think, yeah, I think one thing that you mentioned that programming is not scary. So if coming from a management background and I can pick Python, I think anyone can pick in this world. So
I didn't know that. So I need to, I'll see that.
All right.
But nice to
Guys,
hear this.
not maybe not as good as HFT, but yeah. So, but however, coming to that, I think generally people are like for people who have asked about this side of whether they can join with our programming, they're looking at their profiles without certain courses or certain areas where they can pick up the skills, which takes me to one of the points. Like, do you think programs like say EPAT, CFA, others would they help in grasping the skill sets required for quant, even if it's for the research side of things, on the quant research side for HFT roles?
So a very technical heavy. So by technical heavy, I mean very statistics heavy course. So be it masters in statistics, masters in finance,
Mm.
uh, definitely helps. Uh, CFA, to the best of my understanding, is a very
Mm.
fundamental course. So it's not a stats heavy or quant heavy course. CQF is quant heavy, but then not necessarily for capital markets. It's a lot of quant across. So like masters in finance. So these are good courses which will introduce you to a very quant and statistical way of looking at things. EPAT, this I will because I'm a director at this institute, so I might have a biased viewpoint. Uh, Miss- if I were to say as an outsider, okay. So it was designed by people who are from an high frequency trading background. Initially, all the faculty were from IRH when we started, and then that is how it was for some time before we got external guys like Arnie Chan and so on and so forth. So it has been designed by people from an high frequency trading background, and even the newer faculty that we have got from I think around 7 or 8 countries. So all of them come from a very quant heavy trading background and a very systematic trading background. And the course content, from what I see, it's actually very nicely suited. So for someone who's trying to make an initial inroad into the industry. So and someone who's already working in, say, a quant role but not in HFT, the tech part of it, how tech links to can be used to scale, what do you call, can be used to leverage and scale up the quant strategies. So basically, how you can bridge tech. Those portions of EPAT would help you. So basically, it will give you the complementary skill set. So there could be people from the tech industry, the exchange traded quant part of the program will give you the insights that will help you get into HFT. If you come from a exchange traded quant or whatever banking or whatever quant industry, the tech part of it or the exchange traded part of it. So you might come from a banking industry, say you might just be doing risk analysis, or you might be doing some analysis of OTC products, exotic products, and so on. The EPAT programs focus on exchange traded products, the quant strategies for exchange traded products, and then the technology bit of it. I personally find it, because I could be biased because I was one of the first guys to build the initial course structure for this. But then because it was designed by people from this industry, I find it relevant. Um, at the same time, I say that Masters in Finance, CQF, and so on. CQF is very broad, and then it's typically good for, say, that's my personal viewpoint, good for, say, getting into a quant bank role.
Right.
So exotics and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Right. Thanks. So I think we spoke decently enough on the technical side of things, but there are certain aspects more on the problem-solving mindset of people that you have hired or IRH has hired. So any particular personal qualities or problem-solving abilities that you value while hiring for such roles?
Perseverance. So perseverance is critical, and then basically it's like this. you might you might give up just before becoming Clint Eastwood,
Yeah.
and then you might become no one, and then you might have just one small hill to climb, and then post that you could become even better than Clint Eastwood.
Mhm.
So it's like you're climbing a hill, and then you might just give up just before you are. So perseverance is key, and so what we look for is sparks in their resume. So if you're asking me as a hiring manager, what would I look for? So every year I interview a lot of candidates. Yeah.
Mhm.
So parts in their resume. So basically, for example, I might be checking for what are your passions and hobbies and interests in life, and things which are your passions and interests, and then to what level of excellence, to what level of seriousness, to what level of have you pursued that. So
Mhm.
if you say that, hey, XYZ was my hobby because my mom bought a particular instrument and then gave it to me when I was in class 8, I played it for 1 month and that's it. Then it doesn't showcase that you are like, you want to explore things to the final degree, right? So that is what is required because it's not easy in our industry to find a profitable trading strategy because things are not on the surface. You have to dig really deep.
Mhm.
So therefore, what we look for are people who have showcased that means whatever they are interested in. Did they pursue it to a very serious level of excellence? Did they pursue it to a very fine degree? If it seems that okay, you have scratched the surface, a lot of things, but they never pursued anything to a very high level of depth. Uh, yeah, so that might be so perseverance and then commitment to actually doing something being working on a problem statement for long till you
Mhm.
find a proper solution on a difficult problem statement for long. So those are, I think you said personal qualities, right? Those are personal
Right.
qualities
Yeah.
that would, so you have to demonstrate that. So, means I definitely do look for sparks in the resume. There has to be some spark, whether it is academic, whether it is personal, whether it is professional. There has to be some spark. It should not be a no, what do you call it? You can't be a average everywhere.
Right.
So
Right.
there has to be something which should make you say that, hey, wow, this is really great. I would have loved to do that.
Right.
So if I have some time, I can give a small anecdote.
Sure.
So I think I, I'm sure you guys are running short of time, so I'll try to make it very quick. So I read this when I was in around 2002 or something. So Ogilvy, the marketing company. So when everyone joins, and then I tell this story to a lot of my colleagues. So because I firmly believe in it. So
Mhm.
what they do is every time someone new joins, so they are gifted series of Russian dolls. So in a Russian doll, when you open the bigger doll, you find a
Yeah.
smaller one. You open the smaller one, you find something even smaller, and so on. So basically, it's gifted as a reminder that if you start hiring people who are smaller than you, then you become a company of dwarfs. So therefore, every time you hire someone, you have to feel that I can learn something from this person, and then uh, you have to be awed by that person.
Right.
So therefore, if you are trying to create a resume, you have to work hard to be awe-inspiring.
Right.
So sorry.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, Rajib, for sure, you are a tough nut to crack then in an interview. All right, great. So one was on the problem solving side, right? So when we have discussed on the technical, so one of the largest trends which have been is AI, ML, and to an extent alternate data, right? Alternative data and the impact on HFT. So anything that I mean, what has been the impact of these trends of AI, ML, alternative data on the HFT domain?
Oh, we do use ML techniques. in multiple cases for our research. You have to reduce the universe of features to a workable features, for example. So we do use concepts of ML, and then therefore while recruiting, we do look at how much expertise in ML does the candidate have. So while it's not necessary that each role, each task would require doing things in ML, but then because looking at the way data is growing, looking at the way our problem statements are changing, so we have to recruit for the future. How the trends, how the industry are changing. So being able to analyze huge amounts of data efficiently means being also somewhat means that you have to be good in ML. It's not mandatorily necessary, but then ML is towards that direction. So yes, we do use, while probably not to build trading strategies directly, but then as part of research.
Okay, and alternative data,
It depends what you call alternative data. So we don't use much. We would love to use, but then tiny bits. So like how automating some bit of trading strategy parameters based on news that is happening. So news is alternative. So yes, we use it, but not as extensively as we would love to. So recently, I interviewed someone who works purely on alternative data, and I was totally floored by the passion and dedication of that guy. So I think we should probably start looking at it. Thanks for this session that you reminded me to look at that.
All right, great. So we have a lot of questions. I would want to give you time there, but before we get there, so you mentioned that you do gauge how people have done in their past careers, but if they don't have the past careers in HFT or related domains, are there any platforms or any hands-on experience, say platforms like Blue Shift, or any hands-on experience like projects or something that they have done that you take into account, or any hiring managers from iReach take into account?
So there is a trading firm trading in India. It's called Chain Street, and then they created a lot of news recently. So they also had an advertisement for an internship role, which said that experience in the markets not necessary, and XYZ everything not necessary. You just have to be smart and you need to be good in programming. That's it. So prior industry experience, you could come from any industry as long as you show an enthusiasm and passion towards number crunching, or towards building scalable low latency systems. So you could come from any analytics industry to, and then you can become a trader. So you do a lot of data analysis for, say, any one of those big e-commerce firms, and then here you have to probably do significantly more data analysis. But yeah, so sorry, what was your question? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I got the gist of it. So basically, you mentioned that you might come from any other backgrounds, but as much as you can showcase the skill sets that are required, that should be good enough. That can be through a platform, different projects, or internships. If I've got it correct.
Platforms and projects. So as long as you can demonstrate the fact that you have an interest in the industry, and let's say, for example, there are two of you. One who is both of you are very good in programming. The interviewer has limited opportunities because who is good and bad. And then one of you has taken the time, effort, energy to understand a bit of the industry. So they will definitely have an edge. So, for example, you mentioned Blue Chip, and once again, it's my biased answer probably, but then I will try to answer as an outsider. So you have, I don't know, on Blue Chip you have like probably 15 to 18 years of minute by minute data for any stock that has been S&P 500, CNX 500, all these currency pairs, crypto, and so on. Right? So you get it, and all this data is for free. So if you want to go to an interview armed with some functional knowledge, then this is a very good platform to build that. Number one. Number two, a job is a big commitment. If you in industry, there are multiple industries that one can get. If you are smart, you could do well in multiple industries. There are many fascinating industries. Do you want to get in that industry? So why not you get a feel for it? So I would say that not just Blue Chip, any other platform similar to Blue Chip, but then I'm not aware of any platform similar to Blue Chip. But then, and definitely not free. So there used to be some things called Quantopian and so on. So I believe they closed or something of that sort. So use this as long as these guys make it available for free and then give all so much historical data. So use it. You would see basically you write a trading strategy, you use the historical data available on the platform to test your strategy, and then you get a lot of performance metrics. Then you would see that, hey, oh, this is the Sharpe ratio, Sortino ratio, Kalmer ratio, drawdown, blah, blah, blah. And then you try to optimize that. Then if you find that interesting, apply for a job. If you find that, oh, I'm sure if you have a kick for numbers, if numbers excite you, you would enjoy this. But get a feel for it. Means there are other industries that you get a feel for it. Then, Lucian, give me feedback why it is not the best platform. Probably I should put it the other way around. Is there any other platform anyone can suggest which is a better platform to prepare oneself or getting into the HFT industry? Let me know, and then we'll try to incorporate those concepts in our Blue Chip product. But then I think it's perfectly suited. So you guys should probably, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Rajib, on that one. So I think people, when they have gotten that, so this is the final question before we get into the Q&A. So I wanted, if you could just share some final advice on people who are looking at taking up an HFT role, be it a trading floor manager or a system architect, any. Do you have, I think you did mention that you need to showcase the skill set, and that should be good enough, and even if you come from a different background. But any final advice that you want to leave people with? You did
Fun
cover.
in life. Yeah. So basically you should do things that you enjoy, and then you should have fun. You should feel that you're having fun in what you're doing. So don't get into an industry just because it's the latest fad. So get into an industry which resonates with what excites you. So if competing with people on competing in games on a daily basis, competing with the other market participants on a daily basis, getting to see your score on a daily basis, which could be stressful because you see your profit numbers on a daily basis. You can't pull anyone. So if that excites you, get a this. If you're looking, so what is the final advice? I don't know. Be true to yourself and then aim for excellence in whatever you do. Be it in the HFT industry, be it in some other industry, and you would do well. And then try to get into an industry which you like, and then where you can have fun. So then work wouldn't feel stressful. So never get into an industry where coming to our office feels like, oh, this is work, and then I'm waiting to get back in the evening. So they'll never get into that.
Right. Thanks. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think Rajiv, thanks a lot for that, because if you're not pursuing something that you like, you might not pursue it eventually. So all right. So let's
life is long, and then you have to choose the right industry. It's not like you've entered into an industry just for a couple of months. If you don't enjoy it, people work for 30 plus years, right? So you have to spend 30 plus years try to find the right industry.
True that. True that. Right. So, Rajiv, let's dive into the questions. So, I think we have loads of them, but yeah, we will take the ones. And I guess you can also, as a panelist, you can also see the questions.
Oh my goodness,
I will-
I have to scroll so much.
so I will try and usher some to you. Everyone else, any questions that you have, please keep adding it here. So one of the
So
questions.
there is one question that I found.
Sure.
One of the very last. If C++ is very important, why is it not in EPAT? So I believe which time the course was modified to be. This is I'm answering on behalf of the others. I'm just a director. There are many people making those decisions. So it was modified to be relevant for quant trading as a whole, not just for high frequency trading. So non-high frequency trading roles, you have to do data analysis. You don't have to program the implementation and so on. So therefore, I think we have a separate small additional segment on C++ for people who are keen to do HFT. So probably we could introduce something of that sort. So it's a good uh, suggestion actually.
Yeah. Duly noted.
EPAT could have a separate additional supplementary segment for people interested in X, Y, Z, and so on. The core EPAT plus some supplementary.
Got it.
Okay,
I
so
think
Rohan, I'll leave it to you to pick the most interesting questions, or you want me to do that?
sure. One is a good one from Ramya Vijay. And what are the impacts of SEBI new rules, the new rules that have come in, of course, a draft, but the new rules that have come in for HFT?
Okay, so there are two sets of rules. So when you mention draft, so there is one for retail and there is one for index and so on. So in fact, there have been so many. Uh, 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 so basically, for viewers outside India, so it talks about the regulatory in India and then the changes they are introducing. So some of these are like very drastic. So which means that the market microstructure will change, which is both an opportunity and a threat at the same time. So if you have a profitable trading strategy, uh, it's going to get impacted, and then therefore it's a threat. But then it's an opportunity for people who are fast and nimble. And as I mentioned, HFT is an industry wherein the fast and nimble will survive and do well. So if you are fast and nimble, you will find opportunities because now suddenly the styles of trading will change. People who have invested money in the market in certain trading strategies, they will have to now invest in different trading strategies. So initially they will do mistakes or there would be dislocations in the market. So people who have trained their guns to look for dislocations, who can identify how the market microstructure is changing, how people's behavior is changing. It's a great regulatory volatility induced by regulations. Uh, is a great opportunity for people who can bring the markets back into line. So therefore, it's an opportunity for traders who are looking for inefficiencies in the market.
Got it. Noted. Ramya, I hope that answers your question. There is an interesting comment by Mrityunjay. Is this a webinar to set HFT or recruiting program for iRage? So I'll answer this. Mrityunjay, no, because HFT is one of the parts of the Quantitative ecosystem overall, the training part of things. So that's why we are covering that. Though EPAT and Quantitative does cover all frequency sets. Awesome. I think one of the questions from Shubham, Rajiv, is that there are very many roles in quant overall, which range from Naukri, Indeed, etc. How can one grab opportunity of that role?
Like I said, there are many roles on HFT listed on hiring websites like job portals, and then therefore, what is the follow-on part of it? What is the second thing? So there are many jobs listed. So how can one?
How can one grab those roles?
I think mostly we discussed that. Like,
Yeah.
if you are a fresher, you have to build some skill set, So try to participate in programming contests, for example. There are a lot of programming contest websites. Publish your code on GitHub and participate in hackathons and things of that sort. There will be data science competitions. Participate in this. Learn about the domain. If you want to do it quickly, you can use things like Quant. If you do want to go into the depth of it, you could use things like EPAT. Use a blue chip platform. You could use any educational platform, but then I think Quantra and EPAT have been designed for capital market, for trading on the capital market. So let's use that. Blue chip, use a platform wherein you could get access to historical data, backtest, and then find profitability analytics. Blue Shift is a great platform for doing it. So yeah. So
Right. I think most of the questions that have been asked here have been covered by you, but I would take one last before we end this particular session. Is it true that the major use of HFT is scalping? And
there are various types of HFT. So which time I realized that we ourselves do a very small subset of HFT strategies. So by scalping, I think you refer to market making. So basically the difference between buy and sell when you provide liquidity providing codes. That is one type of HFT. Then there is also very short-term prediction. So often these are market taking strategies. So you identify the signal and then you just sweep the market because you've identified that there should be an uptake or downtake or whatever, and then you just buy across the board. Then there are those arbitrage wherein you, for a very short period in time, you find not for a short period in time, you find a mispriced relationship in the market, and then you build positions waiting for the misprices to get to rectify. But then because so many people would be doing it, so therefore those misprices stay for very short duration, and therefore this is HFT. So you have to respond really fast. So yeah, market making, which is providing liquidity / scalping, what you mentioned. Market taking, which is very short duration price prediction, and then arbitrage, which is finding misprices and locking into those misprices for long duration. So locking into those positions either for short or long durations, but then very quickly. So you could say that arbitrage could be a form of short-term prediction, but yeah.
Got it. Though I would like to end it because of the short time. We have got 1 minute. So, and it's a very relevant question from Brendan Bignell. How much use of GPUs and FPGAs do you make?
Significantly. So, in fact, if you are a student at this moment, so so basically, the amount of computing that you have to do is significant in both for backtesting and for real life trading. So therefore, GPUs enable you to do a lot of things in parallel. So yes, GPU programming becomes relevant. I should have mentioned this. Because you want to do things quickly, FPGAs enable you to do everything in hardware itself. The moment the information hits the network interface card, the FPGA there would be able to process everything in response. So instead of information going from the network interface card via PCI to CPU into the software layer and so on and so forth, the hardware itself will do. So, if you're from the technology industry, so you could keep learning about some of those newer tools, also newer technologies, newer hardware products. So basically, if you are an experienced professional, what do you need to do? You need to know a lot about what are the new, the difference in architecture between the current FPGA product versus what is going to arrive, the difference in futures between network interface cards, A, B, C. So how to architect and leverage each one of them for different scenarios. So keeping abreast of that information helps show you in positive light. So yes, so it's very relevant. Yes, FPG is almost like a hygiene factor now. Almost everyone uses
Yeah.
FPGA programming. So if you can do very long VHDL programming, that is fantastic. So even some sort of HLS you can, if you can do so, because everyone is trying to reduce latencies. Now the game has gone from the software layer to the hardware layer. So being able to do very long VHDL, fantastic.
Awesome. Thanks, Brendan, for the question, and I hope that answers the question. Thank you, Rajib, for this entire session. It was very helpful. Thank you for sharing your insights and guidance and a sneak peek into iRage overall. And we look forward to hearing from you soon, and most of them might meet you while they're in EPAT if they are.
Oh yeah, look forward. So thanks a lot for inviting me. Was a pleasure interacting, and best of luck to everyone. Whatever career you choose, choose one that you like, that you feel that you would love, and you do well. So good luck.
Awesome. Thank you, Rajib. Appreciate it. All right, guys. So that was Rajiv, and there are still almost 70% of the questions still to be taken, but we're short of time. But you will have a person in touch who will cater to your questions. Now, let's move on to Richard, our very own EPAT. Richard, if you're around, hey, how are you doing?
You hear me? I'm good.
Awesome, great. So, just before we go forward, let me just introduce you, Richard, before we start. So, Richard is an EPAT alumnus. Is also a data scientist, a quant trader, and runs his own desk now. Richard has successfully transitioned from learning EPAT to setting up his own automated desk. And Richard, we are very happy to have you here to share your insights on what you have been doing overall.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me, and hopefully I can provide some sort of value to everybody.
For sure, I'm sure about that. And while we talk, have a quick chat around this, I'll encourage everyone to, of course, add questions for Richard if you have any. And Richard, I will usher them to you as and when they come. All right, Richard. So, I mean, of course, we have been in touch with as Quantitative, the support team, the alumni team, etc. But I think it'll be exciting for our audience today to know what has been your background before you jumped into quantitative trading.
Yeah, sure. I guess I start off with my like educational background. I ended up getting a math degree in college and
Mhm.
took a couple programming classes, but nothing like I only took like two, and then so pretty much like kind of self taught myself like Python and pretty much anything to do with like machine learning, just for fun on the side, sort of. And I was working as an industrial salesman, and did that for a while, and then started trading just through a regular retail account in 2017, late 2017, and I was doing like a systematic just sell option strategy on like an index, nothing too fancy, I just like found something online and just kind of followed along pretty naively. But it was still systematic even at that point because I've definitely just always gravitated towards doing things systematically.
Mhm.
I guess just using like my discretion didn't really make sense to me, and so it's just been a slow progression from that, I guess, to where I'm at now, where it's, everything's fully automated and, trying to do more proper research as to, seeing what factors actually predict things.
Right. I mean, while of course we discussed HFT with Rajiv, I mean, what frequency do you describe your trades at?
I guess like medium frequency. Somebody actually asked me this yesterday on a call. But yeah, we trade about every 15 minutes during the day. So that gives you an idea.
Awesome. Right. Because, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to let people know that quantity, of course, we spoke about HFT because that is one of the parts of the industry. But in EPAT, of course, we cover straight from low, medium, high frequency trades on that front. Awesome. Which, like I mentioned about EPAT. So, how did you come across quantity and what led to joining EPAT overall?
Let's see. I guess it was, really just researching and, just Googling any terms I could find. And, I've come across Quantitative, somewhere along the way. I mean, I really don't even remember exactly, but yeah, just like trying to find materials and things to learn programming and anything to do with like quantitative finance. And, I came across the website and everything and, read into it and it seemed like it was a perfect fit for me at the time, So it was a pretty easy decision to just, make the leap and see what I could get out of it pretty much. And it's been
Awesome.
super helpful for sure.
So any particular, if it's a one sentence answer, any particular aspect that really made you say, okay, this particular journey or course fits well for you?
Well, I was gonna say, of course, I was gonna say the most valuable aspect of it for me has definitely been the community because I met my
Mm.
partner Vance through it, and so that's been super cool. Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I've tried to watch. I've pretty much watched every single thing, and definitely watched like some of the reruns, that have been going on since I've graduated or whatever. Um, Probably just stuff on like a practical like research on like a strategy and like back testing it and I don't know, like maybe changing some parameters, like if there's like a moving average involved. I don't know, and then basically like maybe plotting profit versus different moving average links or something like that. Just like that idea of sort of testing for parameter robustness in a strategy.
Hmm.
I'm picturing one lecture in my head. I definitely couldn't tell you like the exact, I don't know, name and whatever, but yeah, doing stuff like that was super helpful for me at the time. So,
Got it. Makes sense. All right. Um, how did EPAT help you make a mind shift in terms of systematic trading? As you mentioned that you were systematic, and what was the mind shift during or after EPAT that really triggered?
well, for one thing, the like systematically testing for the I don't know the strength of whatever strategy you might want to be looking at. Instead of
Mm.
just I don't know, taking somebody's word for it, figuring out how to do the actual research was super helpful. And then also just structuring, like, so there's a lot of information in there about how to, like, let's say if you have like an automated trading system, all of the different parts that you need, they have like diagrams that would sort of show you, like, you need your data and then your OMS and all that sort of thing. That we definitely went back to that stuff a bunch to help structure our current system. So that's definitely helped a lot.
Got it. So for others who are listening, so LMS, what Richard mentioned, is the learning management system, VPAT. Um, awesome. Can you so there was, of course, the mind shift, etc. But how important was the role of automation in your trades? Yeah.
Yeah, currently it's super important. So yeah, like I said, it's fully automated. And I would say though, actually, if you don't need, I mean, I wouldn't do automation for the sake of
Mm,
automating something.
mm,
But for us, it's definitely a necessity. And, without it, we wouldn't be able to trade near as much as we do, because I don't know, like, let's just say if you're going on vacation or whatever and you can't look at your screen all day long, there's just no way you'd be able to place trades. But it's definitely a huge undertaking, to get everything right. I mean, I can't tell you how many times there's been like hiccups along the way, and you have to log into your remote desktop on your phone and make sure everything's right. But yeah, it's super critical for our operation today.
Awesome. I think, yeah, I think that has been the one of the key needs of people that who transition themselves from discretionary or partially more manual to systematic and automated approaches. Awesome. So when you complete, I think you completed EPAT back in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And what were the first steps that you took after EPAT?
I mean, I would say just I think there was a lot of stuff in there with maybe Ewan Sinclair at the time, who was saying, at some point you can do so much research, but once you get to a certain point, you need to just start making some trades, and like getting
Right.
feedback from the market and stuff on, certain ideas you might have. So that was probably a thing that I just started doing, like after the course, was just kind of sort of taking a leap of faith, like doing some research and then making some trades, because I guess you don't have, I mean, you only have a certain amount of time to be able to do things in life, So I guess it was just like kind of a wake up call almost to just kind of get started with something,
Right.
and just like kind of iteratively, I guess like say take the automation for example. At first we weren't fully automated, but you just kind of slowly work towards it. I guess like definitely. I think coming out of it or going into it, I had the mindset of, all right, I just want to code up something so beautiful and it works so clean, and then bam, we put it into production and it works. Definitely
Hmm.
does not work like that. It's got to be an iterative process.
For sure, for sure. And I think the transition is of course quite variable from person to person as it comes. Right. I think your professional journey also includes TIW Capital, right? And and the prop trading firms. So could you shed some light on that front and how did that come across for you?
Yeah, sure. So that's just can't remember when I came across it. It was probably pretty early on in the like whenever I signed up for the EPAT and all. But I remember looking at something saying, once you finish this course and you have the certificate of excellence, basically, then if you can propose a strategy, even if not even necessarily a live traded strategy, just like maybe a back test, then
Mhm.
obviously you'd have to show it to somebody who's potentially investing money in it and, can work from there. But anyways, it just gave me an opportunity to, like say, look, I can just code up a strategy, present it to somebody. And, if they like it, then I can trade with, their money and get a cut of the profits if I make some money for them. So, I thought that was a great opportunity. So, as soon as I finished, that's pretty much what I started working on, was trying to come up with, or I mean, I guess not necessarily coming up with a strategy specifically for that, but we had already traded some stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, this would be a perfect opportunity. We can just kind of showcase this to the connection with through EPAT, which is a TIW capital. So yeah, um, and it's pretty detailed, like the sort of application. You have to show like all these sort of metrics about your strategy and all. So it's definitely not like, I don't know. They take it seriously, obviously, because somebody's putting their money at risk. So it's not like just a breeze, I guess.
Right. I think Shubham had a question what company that you're working for, but I think the TIW part uh, takes care of it a little bit. Um, awesome. So how was the entire process of you getting introduced to TIW Capital?
Yeah. So just basically fill out the application page or whatever, like with your strategy and
Mhm.
whatever information they request on there. Like it'll be I don't know, like back tested performance and like drawdown and number of trades per day estimated or whatever. Send that in. EPAT puts you in touch with the company, or Quantitative puts you in touch with the company. And then you basically, from there you just kind of work with the company and in a contact there, and you just, like they just further sort of ask more and more questions on the strategy, and if they like it, then they send you a term sheet, which basically breaks down how you will get paid pretty much for managing their account. So, and it's just like a separately managed account. So, it's pretty much just like if I were to open up my own brokerage account and just manage it, but I just have like a trader login and go on there and run the system on there every day pretty much.
Got it. Makes sense. There is a question on the panel. How much C++ do you do in your daily?
Zero.
I think they connected Rajib's session and they wanted to figure out how much C++ that you do. Lovely. Which brings me to a question. As a quant or quantitative trader, if I may call, how does your daily work day look like?
So mostly for me, I'm just doing research every day. So I pretty much live in a Jupyter notebook for the most part, either there or our S3 bucket or SQL database, and I'm just like cleaning data or or trying to research like a new edge or a new factor to like put into our pipeline. And then aside from that, just kind of monitoring our automation, making sure it's doing everything it's supposed to do every day. And then maybe, occasionally I'll get with Vance, my partner, who's like more of the software engineer, and we'll take this factor that I've coded up, put it into like a automated, basically just implement it with the rest of whatever we have. Which usually looks like, we'll have like a data pipeline, have that running all the time, pull from that, calculate the factors, spit those out, and then, have your like trade logic, which would send information to our order management system. But yeah, for me, just the research stuff, pretty
Awesome.
much.
Yeah. And I think automation empowers and gives you more time to do that. Awesome. So I think you did cover the bit about where you spend most of the time. That was so. Any particular tools that come to your mind which might be of use for others who are aspiring in this direction? Tools,
I mean, I love,
automation.
yeah. I mean, I use Google Colab a ton. I really love that. I mean, I used to use R a lot, which now I've primarily went to Python because, and like just Dask. I use Dask a lot because it's just easier to handle like bigger data. I get on Kaggle a fair amount and like look at what the researchers on Kaggle are doing. There's actually a competition. I was looking at it this morning. Jane Street is hosting, ends in a few days, which might be relevant to a lot of people if they're not familiar. What else? I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, I'd say that's the main. Like every day, that's the sort of stuff. But I don't know. Like for like ideas, I might click on some website that has some information. Like say, at one point we were researching market on close imbalance. And so there's like various websites where you can get that sort of information. But yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff, it just kind of comes and goes. If it's valuable, then we'll dive into it. And if it's not, we'll just sort of move on. So there's a bunch of, testing something out, seeing if there's anything, basically, is it worth our time to research that? And if it's not, move on to the next thing,
Makes sense. All right, got it. And how about the entire alumni pool? Do you connect with, I mean, not only the alumni pool, but do you connect with other quants, traders, discords, etc.?
Yeah, definitely. That's been a huge part. Is just connecting with people. Twitter and Discord have been and a little bit of LinkedIn have been like my most valuable resources for, reaching out to people, and also just kind of like taking some ideas from people too. There's definitely, I'm definitely not going to say that we've just like completely found our own sort of like trading system, totally independent of everybody else out there. But yeah, that's definitely a big part of it. And I would highly, and also, I mean, I guess this is just like Slack too, is another platform I'm a pretty good bit. But yeah, definitely encourage everybody to, just try to find like groups of people and see what they're doing. And, you're naturally going to filter for which people are doing profitable things. And then, you can just kind of keep working from there.
Great. I mean, that's a part of your research. So, one of the questions that has come from one of the audience members, Matias Alfaro, is I want to ask about the iteration process that you talked about. How much time do you need to make a functional code? How many hours do you work in a day? And how much time does it take that project?
Okay. My schedule as far as research goes is pretty sporadic. It can be like easily like 16-hour days. And I mean, it kind of goes like that for me, where say it'll be like, I don't know, a week where I'm just like trying to, answer this certain question. So I'm like constantly, just researching code and whatever. And then I don't know, like I'll get burnt out for a few days and then I'll kind of jump back into it. Sorry, what was the other two parts of that question?
One was about how many hours do you work, which you did.
Okay, yeah. I mean, definitely, it's pretty variable, I guess. It's kind of just like, I mean, I just work however much I need to figure out what I need to do. I mean, it definitely could be, I don't know, like 80 hours a week sometimes, and then sometimes it's only like 10.
Yeah, and I think Matthias, it also depends on where you're getting at and what you're researching for that week and the milestones that you put in across for the functional code. Awesome. Thanks, Sir Richard. So while now of course you have grasped a lot from EPAT and other courses that you've done. How did you ensure continuous learning while you were in the journey, or even now for that matter?
Yeah, ensuring it is definitely a thing that you need to watch out for, because there's definitely times where I've been stagnant in my learning, But yeah, that's a big part of it for sure. Is just like trying to remain interested in it is a big thing, and just, I mean, I guess, I don't know if you can't try to be interested in something. I'm just naturally interested in finance, I guess. So that helps a lot, so I don't really mind sitting there, I don't know, just Googling things, reading what other people are saying on Discord, Twitter, whatever. Just pretty much constantly. Like, I don't even look at the news or anything. I don't know. Somebody will ask me something about Trump. I have no idea, for example. So yeah, just like constantly looking at, Discord, Twitter. Somebody said something, go Google it. I don't know. Maybe there's another group out there doing something. Go join that, see what they're doing. Somebody mentions a book, go read that, yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of that pretty much, just kind of just seeing what people are saying, reading books, reading. I've been on Substack a lot lately too. There's a whole pile of stuff on there as well.
Got it. Okay. And with the the EPAT resources that come after the program, how much do you really go back to that, or the support system of the quantity ecosystem?
Yeah, like I said, me and Vance definitely, he more so than I, because there's a lot of valuable information on there about building like a I don't know, like a more foolproof automated trading system. So we look at that a pretty good bit, as far as like a diagram for like what it should look like, and I don't know, like it's definitely a challenge to make it streamlined, or fast, but also if there's there's obviously going to be bugs or whatever in your code. So you need to make it to where it's easy to work on, like during the day, if something breaks, go back to it, make some changes or whatever. So I guess just sort of making it understandable, like write it, and then, I don't know, a month later, come back to something that you wrote and be able to see what you did pretty much and make sense of it, So that's just, which, I mean, I definitely it was not like that at the start. We had to go back. I mean, we rewrote our order management system, I don't know, like probably 5 times at least. So
Awesome. That's great. We'll take the last question before we get into the Q&A for you, maybe. So one was, what advice would you give someone who is starting the journey as a quant, which is also one of the questions in the Q&A panel. So any advice that you would want to give people who are entering into this journey as a quant?
yeah, I would say, man, there's a lot of stuff. At the same, all right. So let's just say if you are, I don't know, most people are like jumping into it, trading some kind of stock or whatever in their account. If somebody, I don't know, if you're like interested in buying some stock or whatever, instead of just naively doing it, maybe go and, I don't know, try to find some data and research whatever effect that you're trying to, or maybe if you don't even think about it as an effect, maybe back up a step and say, all right, what effect am I trying to take advantage of here? If you can answer that question, then you can figure out, like, okay, this effect. Let's just say you hear about some stock on TikTok. All right, this is one I heard the other day. I feel like this is probably where a lot of people get into like trading stuff. Looking on TikTok, oh, AI stocks, they're popular. Let me go buy one. All right, instead of doing that, say, all right, what effect am I trying to look at here? It's social media presence of the stock or whatever. There's websites out there you can go and get information from that basically have, like these social sentiment scores.
Right.
Take that, then you can, I don't know, rank it and see how well the stock does. So I guess in a more general sense, if you're just looking to start out, I would just try to research, do your stuff in a systematic way and try to, write down exactly what you want to take advantage of instead of just sort of, gambling, I guess.
Right. Right. That makes sense. All right. Okay. So one last thing, where does your journey go from here? So what are there certain milestones in the coming years that you have? Of course, something that you can share, of course, if you would like to. But yeah, any milestones in the coming years that you picturize?
Yeah, I want to. So currently, we just trade mainly SPX options, but I just got access to index options all over the world. So I want to get to the point where our SPX strategy is fully ported over to pretty much an index option in all major time zones in the world. So we'll be trading, pretty much around the clock in a fully automated way. I'd say that'd be our next milestone.
Awesome. Great. All right. If you're okay, let's pick up some questions that have come from you. So there is a question from, of course, there are a lot of uh, personal questions about how much money do you make and things like that, which I will not get into, and what are the strategies that have worked the best for you. But however, Dhaval had a question about what are the top 3 resources that you would recommend?
Let's see. I'll say the EPAT program. Man, I don't know. This is tough. Top 3 resources. Maybe the latest book by Ewan Sinclair and Andrew Mack is a good one. I think it just came out like maybe a month or 2 ago. And then, probably just like go to Twitter and just start trying to like, I don't know, search finance, stocks, whatever, and just kind of filter through like what, I don't know, see if you can figure out which people are not full of crap pretty much, and just sort of see what they say and see if there's anything valuable to be taken from there.
Awesome. There is a question from Nirav, who asks, what are the typical metrics uh, that you generally look at while you're trading?
I mean, profit for one, for sure. Want to make sure we're trying to make money every day, pretty much. Let's see. Also, I would say profit as a percent, or profit divided by number of contracts that you trade, is another big thing. Like if you're researching something and it looks like you have like a big edge or whatever, just divide your profit in dollars by the number of contracts or whatever you traded. If it was shares, the number of shares, that way you can get like a per share per contract profit. And then that's how usually commissions are quoted, or in a per share per contract basis. So then you can see like, okay, subtract my commissions, this is how much edge I have left. That's a pretty big thing. And then, I mean, Sharpe ratio. I pretty much, anytime we're like researching something, I always look at the Sharpe ratio just because I'm familiar with it. Like I know if somebody tells me I have a 2 Sharpe ratio on an annualized basis, I know exactly, I'm so familiar with that number. There's a lot of like, I don't know, discussion and stuff about like Sortino ratio and whatever, because Sharpe ratio, basically volatility also takes into account upside returns or whatever, but I wouldn't even worry about it. I mean, you know what a 2 Sharpe ratio means. You don't necessarily know what a 2 Sortino ratio means. It's not like the same thing. So,
Awesome. Great. As I think there are a lot of questions around EPAT. So, guys, we will have the following session, which will be on EPAT in the next maybe 5 minutes. So, one of the questions, and I think the final question, there are many more, but as we're short on time, I will cover one or two max. How much statistics do you use, Richard, in your strategies or your trading days?
Statistics. I mean, I guess it's like all like statistically driven, not sure exactly what they mean. Like maybe, I don't know, like maybe they're talking about, I don't know, like traditional statistics, like looking at regression and p-values and that kind of thing. Not so much that, but yeah, I mean, it's more just, I do a lot of like plotting. Like that's a big thing. It's just like taking whatever factor you think is predictive and doing like ranking it versus the target that you're trying to predict. So it'll be, like a rank plot where you have like 10 buckets. That's super common in my daily workflow. And then also like a scatter plot. And then it's more, yeah, I don't know. I've been burned a few times trying to like, if I'm researching something and I want to like boil it down to just a number and then I can just rank everything, I don't know, let's just say I'm looking at 5 different strategies and I want to find the best one. And then I'm trying to like be very, like boiling down what I'm trying to look at into one number and then rank everything and then take the best one on that one number. Usually that just doesn't work. Like you're better off, like, I don't know, say plotting the equity curve over time and just verifying, that it looks right or there's nothing funky going on. And then also just multiple metrics. Like, unfortunately, there's not just one good metric that you can always use, like Sharpe ratio, profit per contract or whatever. Yeah.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah. So there were a couple of more questions on Sharpe ratio. So I think that is taken care of. However, one last question to you. So from I just missed the name, but so how so some your first automated trade that you had executed to now, what is the difference that you have seen in your own learning and execution?
Man, a ton. I'm still pretty like I can recall exactly what I was doing my first automated strategy. It was a VIX or I guess VIX futures strategy, and I had like coded up a machine learning model, all this kind of stuff, and I was using 10-minute bars. I remember. Didn't even try to like trade it by hand. I was just like, okay, let's just research it. Looks good. Fully implement it with the Interactive Brokers API and see how it works. But I did actually code it up for a paper account instead of a live account. So that was a smart thing I did because it did not make money in a live account. But yeah, I mean, it was all like basically just all one script. Like the whole strategy, everything, data fetching, everything was in one script. Machine learning model, everything. Probably as simple as it gets. But so yeah, I didn't even like test it out. I don't know. Like you definitely need to like try if you're gonna trade something, try to instead of immediately automating it fully, you're gonna need to like click trade a little bit at least. Make sure I don't know the liquidity's there. There's just all kind of things, I can't. It's hard to say because there's always something different. It seems like, but liquidity is one thing for sure. So yeah, one script to now it's a whole like I don't even know how many different files there is in our system. Like tons of them. So yeah, hopefully that helps.
Right, it does. It does. Awesome. Thanks a lot, Richard. I really appreciate you taking the time, sharing your insights. I mean, and I really hope that you continue the journey of taking the benefit from the ecosystem of Quantity, and looking forward to connecting with you soon. I really thank you for your time over here.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Richard.